Welcome to the Premier League show. There is no Premier League, but we're still doing this show because why wouldn't we? Me and Ned's going to have a chat this week on BetVictor's Last Man Standing. The lads have been speaking about Paul Pogba, so let's hear what they had to say on that.
I think whoever gets Pogba, they're getting. Look, he's made some mistakes at Manchester United, but Manchester United also made a lot of mistakes in how we've handled him and handled a lot of signings and a lot of players. And I think you're going to see a Paul Pogba, and everyone's going to go, "Why wasn't he doing that at Man United?" Like, the facts are, over the years, there were some periods of time where he was a glorious football player. He was in PFA Team of the Year at one point. You know, when he helped us win a couple of trophies, he was on fire. For periods under Solskjaer, he was great. He's had injury issues, which is one of the reasons why I didn't select him as value. And also his wages and signing on fee is going to be high. But you're going to get a motivated Paul Pogba. And you're going to get a Pogba that wants to do something between now and the end of his career. And I think, whilst I kind of agree with George that he's not that guy to lift the dressing room and drag them all on his back like a Roy Keane, he's also a guy that if he joins a settled dressing room, if he joins a dressing room where the coach is settled and the coach wants him and all that, and the teams play, like, we gave him McTominay and Fred for most of it. Like, that's an awful midfield. Like, you already had George talking about Kante and all that. If he goes to another club, I think they get a Paul Pogba that's motivated and potentially goes on to win a few things. So I think he could be a valuable signing. I'm not one of those that goes, Pogba's completely to blame for what went on at Man United. I think he has to take some responsibility. But I do think United made some mistakes along the way as well, and we'll see that in the next couple of years.
Interesting. Paul Pogba is obviously leaving Manchester United. Will he be a good signing for someone else?
Well, obviously he came in at United at a good age and cost a lot of money, and it was always like you sort of waited for him to kick off, but it sort of felt like he never built a good relationship with. I don't know whether he was happy at United, he never had a good relationship with the manager or players. I just don't really. I question his character, to be honest. I question his determination. And it seemed like when he's at Juventus, the first time he was like he loved his footy, and he got on with the players and the manager so well. And then I thought, like, when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first came into United, he had that spell where he was really good, and it seemed he really got on with the manager, and the manager spoke like really highly of him. And it seems like it's just not that relationship obviously didn't last, and he just feel like I don't know whether it's an attitude thing, but it seems like he's got a bad relationship, and I think he's done at United now. I think gone too far with him in the fans and players and managers. He's not got a lot of as much game time as he should if you're talking about his talent. So I think he needs that new fresh start where he can got a manager who can handle his ego or attitude, get him back into the game and enjoying his footy again, because I think he's 29, 30 now. He's got a few years left, and it will go like that, won't it? Football being football, it goes very fast. So I think if someone can, get the most out of him, because he's a very talented football player, if someone can get, the best out of him, then I think it'd be a great signing. But I think they need to get his attitude back in order and get him loving football again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he was at United. Had that fallout with Ferguson, that he went abroad, went to Juve, and was sensational at Juventus.
Yeah.
And when United got him back, it was a hell of a lot of money. When United brought him back, I was thinking he's got everything. We've seen him for France, he's got everything. His physique's fantastic, dead talented on the ball. Seeing him win games for France, just dominate games. And you almost thought coming back to United, he'd had that grounding at Juve and performed on a big stage under Allegri and that. I thought he'd come in and do really well, and he fell out with Mourinho. I don't think Mourinho liked him really because they had disagreements, and you thought Solskjaer would put an arm round him and get the best out of him, and that didn't really happen either. And then Ranić hasn't been able to get anything out of him either. And obviously he's come to the end now of his time at Manchester United. But I think if a club, there's talk of him going back to Juventus. There's obviously been talk of him going to Manchester City last week. But I think whoever gets him, they need to have a strong manager, whoever it is. I think I think you need that. There's obviously the PSG stuff's there as well. Back to France. would he be in PSG with the likes of Mbappe, you know, his French teammate? Would they be able to bring that Champions League to PSG, which is what they all want? Messi still there as well, of course. So it's dead intriguing, I think, where he's going to go. But I do think if a manager can get a tune out of him, you've got an unbelievable football player there. Because when he's on it, he's very difficult to stop. But you're right, I think his attitude just hasn't really been there for the last year or so. And I think Graham Souness will be made up if he goes anyway, because he hates him, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think even then, you're watching for France, and it's, you know, he's playing like he did at Juventus, or like when he did for the first few games under Ole Gunnar. It's like he's playing like he's really enjoying his football, and he will do with France, isn't he? He's, you know, playing for his country at international level. He's playing with all his friends, teammates, and all the teammates are big clubs, like I said, you know, Benzema and Kante, all top players. And I think with United, you know, he probably thinks he's probably got this attitude or this thinking, like, I'm better than this, and that's probably why he has disagreements with managers. But I think if he goes somewhere, you got a manager who can, you know, control that attitude. Not so much they've got a bigger ego, but they've got, like, they're a big manager, they're big, like, highly respected. Someone like a Carlo Ancelotti, or you know, someone who will go into the dressing room and say, "Well, I'm the boss."
Well, if he goes back to Juve, Allegri's back there now,
yeah.
You know, someone who's had them before, and you look at that, obviously, PSG thing's a bit up in the air, because obviously they don't know whether they're sticking with Pochettino. Marino's been mentioned there again, so he's not going to go there with Mourinho, so it's going to be interesting. But
he's got that relationship with the Juventus fans and Juventus, obviously, and, you know, the club obviously love him. Obviously, they made a lot of money out of him, so I imagine to get him back when he's still a talented player, and obviously he's got that relationship with Allegri anyway. So I think if it goes back to Juventus, it could be a good signing for him. You know, probably be already one of the most talented players in Italy, I presume. So if they can get him back playing, which probably more possible than a lot of teams at the moment, and still obviously a top team, then it'll be a very good signing.
Interesting. Make sure you check out the rest of that video on the BetVictor website. The link is in the description below. Go over, comments, watch the video. It's good chat. Another thing the lads have been talking about this week is Ousmane Dembele, who's been linked with a move from Barcelona to Chelsea. We're talking about French players then with Pogba, and he's another one who falls into that hugely talented French player, you know, lightning quick. Struggled a little bit with injury over the past few years, but the last couple of seasons has got his game together again. You know, he had that terrible injury and he only played 9 games a couple of years ago, but he was back. He had a strong season, not the one gone, the one before.
Yeah.
And then he's followed it up again this season. So, I mean, he's 25 now. Broke onto the scene, burst onto the scene at Rennes, was excellent for them. Then got the move to Dortmund, and then got that £105 million move, whatever it was, to Barca. And hasn't quite gone as they hoped, I think, at times at Barca. But if you get him right, he could be a fantastic signing for Chelsea.
Yeah, he was so highly rated at Dortmund, wasn't he? He was a young player, but he was, like, so bright, big, athletic. He's so fast as well, and obviously got the move to Barcelona. He's had that injury, but, you know, he's playing again. And last season, 20 appearances, which is, you know, it's okay in the top side. And I think with him obviously you got the 13 assists, playing with other top players. But, you know, I think what Chelsea need right now, obviously, they haven't got like a 20 goal a season striker. They thought Lukaku was going to be that. So I don't know whether they'd be hanging on to Lukaku, but he's another player who can come in and probably create more chances. He's not like a prolific goal scorer, like 20 goal a season goal scorer. I think he only scored 1 last season, but he is that player who can come in and add to the attack. And obviously they got, you know, Havertz scored 8, Mason Mount scored, I think Mason Mount might have been the top scorer with 11 goals. So players who will score goals, so to add to the team and add a bit of quality would be good. And be good for Dembele to kick on and try and get somewhere where he can be in the first team and help the squad out.
I think you make it is a dead interesting point what you said there about the goal scorer, because obviously it looks like, if you believe what's going on in the press, it looks like Lukaku could be going back to Inter on a loan deal. They can't afford him. Obviously Chelsea had £100 million transfer. Chelsea had won big money back, but they don't really have a striker. Havertz, like you say, Havertz is more of a 10, but he did play like a false 9 for them last season through the middle, and he tried Werner there, but he's better wide. You know, you've got Pulisic out there, Hudson-Odoi at Chelsea. So, you know, if Dembele comes in, he's another wide player who goes to the middle. Do they push Werner inside and have a fluid front three? Or do they go looking at it? I've seen him linked with Richarlison at Everton, but he's another player who plays wide.
False winger, isn't he?
Yeah, and, you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is another name that was mentioned, but he's more of a back-to-goal type striker, but then he probably will benefit from crosses and some Dembele does. So Chelsea are an interesting one because they were when they got Rom last year, I thought they would push Liverpool and City for the title. And the first few months it looked like they would, but they fell off a cliff. To be fair to Chelsea, they lost both wing-backs. They lost James and Chilwell, and that did hamper them. But Rom never settled in really, did he? He had a really poor season. So
I think they started off, obviously, I think the defence were, they were one of the most like solid teams and most hard-to-beat teams in the league. And, you know, they scored a lot of goals. They scored a lot of goals against Norwich. I couldn't even tell you. I think it was like 7-0 or something, wasn't it? But, you know, I think they do miss a prolific striker if they want to like try and push for the league. Obviously, City haven't had that. They might have that now with Haaland. But like, they won the season and with like, you know, Foden chipping in, Sterling, Mahrez, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. Obviously, De Bruyne got quite a few.
But Jesus gets goals, a lot of goals.
Yeah, well, Jesus got it, but they didn't have that like prolific 20 to 30 goal striker season, which you'd expect a winning, a title winning team to have. But I think with Chelsea, they've got a lot of talent out wide, and they do create a lot of chances. But I think they do need I think they are missing a 20 goal. If you look at Liverpool, who finished above them, they obviously got Salah and Mane, and they got other players who chip in. Which Chelsea have players that chip in with goals, but they don't have that one that just will score them 20 to 30 goals a season. But Dembele, in terms of the player he is, I think he could be really good for Chelsea. But if I was looking at bringing players in for Chelsea, I'd be wanting a striker more, to be honest.
There is that talk, obviously, the striker, the talk they're going to need defenders. Rudiger's obviously gone off to Real Madrid. Christensen's out of contract. They've got a couple of other issues. Aspilicueta's getting older. Defenders are what they need as well, but also, I guess, the striker, like you say. But I think it'd be dead interesting, I think, if he went there, because I think he's a player that athletically and physically, I think he can play in the Premier League. I think he looks like he could shoot it. Obviously, like we've said, there was that concern a couple of years ago over the injury, but he seems to, I think he's played 60 games since the injury or something now, so he's got that game back in his legs. So it's gonna be really interesting to see whether he does. It looks as though, according to sources, the deal is getting close now. So I think Chelsea, they get him, and he's worked with Tuchel before as well at Dortmund. So I think he could be an excellent sign. And the final thing they were talking about on this week's Last Fan Standing, make sure you check it out, is quite a controversial one, this, just because it's brought up by the Chelsea lad on there. Did Chelsea have a better season than Liverpool? Now, what it's been based on in this argument is that Chelsea got 2 trophies that they didn't have before, which is the Super Cup, and they won the World Club Championship. Of course, they lost in the FA Cup final and they lost in the Carabao Cup final, and finished 3rd in the league. So the Chelsea lad on there is kind of saying, you know, what a season they've had, really. They're frustrated because they didn't run the top 2 closer, but they've ended up with 2 trophies and lost in 2 finals on penalties. They didn't really lose the finals, they lost on penalty shootouts. That's his angle. Whereas when you look at Liverpool got 2 Champions League final.
They played in every game.
They could play in. They were runners-up in the Premier League. They won the FA Cup and they won the Carabao Cup. Okay, albeit they won them without scoring a goal and on penalties, but they won them.
Chelsea didn't score a goal.
Exactly, Chelsea didn't do it either. So Liverpool won them, played in every game they could, and got to the Champions League final. So if you had to say who had the better season, in your opinion, who would you go for?
It depends which way you look at it. It's in simple terms, it's clearly Liverpool. They won 2 domestic trophies and they finished higher in the league. But if you're looking at Chelsea, I think 3rd. I think if they, obviously the 2 finals playing the top club, but if they hadn't won the Super Cup and they hadn't won the World Club Cup, I think they'd have been, you know, and then they went and lost the two other finals domestically. I think it'd been a massive failure. They'd have expected at least 3rd in the league, with Liverpool and Man City being the teams they are. But they just won the Champions League. Obviously, Tuchel's first full season, spending £100 million on a striker who didn't go very well. I think they basically had a season which was bare minimum, to be honest. They won the 2 trophies they expected to win, playing. They weren't playing a Liverpool or a City, were they? They didn't finish above Liverpool or City, which is like the 2 teams to finish above. So I wouldn't say they had much of a successful season.
They played every game domestically that they could.
Yeah.
Like Liverpool. And they got knocked out in the quarter-final of the Champions League by the eventual winners. Although, to be fair, if you're being ultra-critical of Chelsea, they were 3-0 up in the Bernabeu Stadium. They should have closed the game out, really. And they didn't, and then obviously we saw City.
But if you look at Liverpool, they won the FA Cup, won the League Cup, and just fell short of the league. They're as a team or as a club, they're probably thinking, that's not a successful season. We had the Champions League final and we were pointing out the Premier League. We beat Tottenham and we beat West Ham away instead of, obviously they got beat. Or other games they got beat or drawn. They win the league. Chelsea are probably thinking, we've had an okay season, we had a good season there, finished third, won the Super Cup and the World Club Cup. Liverpool thinking, we should have won a quadruple.
Hang on. I agree. I sort of agree what you're saying, and I agree. I think Liverpool had the better season. Personally, for me, if I'm making that decision, but I'm not convinced Chelsea will say we've had an okay season. I don't think they will, because I think if I was a Chelsea fan, I know what the Chelsea fans did.
The fella on the video saying they had a great season.
If I'm looking at it then as a neutral, and you look at Chelsea and you go, they would have expected to challenge for the title when they got Lukaku and things like that. They didn't do it. They didn't. At Christmas, they fell away. They got to 2 cup finals domestically. Yeah, sound. But they lost both of them. And they went out in the quarter final of the cup. So I think they'll look and be a bit frustrated that they were so far off the top 2, haven't spent money, and that they lost both finals to the same team. Yes, they're playing a top side in Liverpool, but they're a top side and they got top players. So they'd expect, I think, you'd look at Chelsea and go, they undercooked themselves a little bit there. Yes, they got 2 trophies, but...
Yeah, at the start of the season, they'd probably be expecting to be a lot closer to... Especially the way they got off to a good start. They'd have been definitely expecting to be a lot closer to the top 2 teams. But for them, they basically got bare minimum what they expect. Finish third. Don't finish below any teams that you don't expect to finish below.
Yeah.
And win what you can. And they won 2 trophies that you'd expect them to win. I expected them to at least win at least one of the 2 finals against Liverpool. They didn't, fair enough. So for Liverpool, I'd say Liverpool had the better season, unfortunately. For us.
But it is what it is. I agree. I think Liverpool did have a better season. There you go. Let us know what you think. Who had the better season out of Chelsea and Liverpool? There's the World Club Cup and there's the European Super Cup. Is that better than the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup? I still think Liverpool, who were very close to win the title and got to a Champions League final, I think that's a better season for me.
But do you think Chelsea will be closer to that league? Do you think they can close the gap between the top 2?
To be honest, I think it's too early to call at the moment. You've got to wait till the recruitment's done. Liverpool look like they're signing Darwin Núñez for whatever it is, 85 million or whatever it is, and I know they're going to lose Mane to buy in and stuff. Chelsea are in the infancy. We've just talked about Dembele. They're looking at centre backs.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think you can say it this year. We're in June. Coming the second week in June. I don't think we can start putting predictions on. I think what we can say is City and Liverpool will be going for the league again. Whether Chelsea can get closer to them depends on the recruitment process, but it's going to be an interesting summer, that's for sure. So yeah, there you go. Let us know what you think. Make sure you check out the BetVictor Last Fan Standing. Have a listen to what the lads have got to say. Give the video a thumbs up and leave a comment over there as well. And likewise to us, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. If you want more videos, including daily live videos, join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.